Hey, this is Robin. You might recognize me from my Instagram, LexTractive, and today I'm going to review 3 pockets by STX, one of which is brand new. STX was kind enough to send over 3 of these Crux 600 heads along with their pockets. I strung them up, I tested them, and now I'm going to tell you guys what I think. I'll be going over hold, control, catching, shooting, taking the draw, maintenance, and stringability. Now I'll introduce you all to the pocket. This is Crux Mesh. It's a 7-diamond piece of mesh, their dry light variation of mesh. Next up is their ProForm Pocket. It is this rail piece in the middle. They call it the ProForm. It's essentially a ladder pocket. It is a full trad, as you can see. Lastly, we have their brand spanking new Crux Pro Mesh. This is a full mesh pocket. All you need to attach it is a sidewall and then some shooters. Alright, so first up we're going to be looking at hold. These 2 pockets, the Crux Mesh and the Crux Pro Mesh, had very similar amounts of hold. I think I detected a little bit more in this one, the Crux Pro, just because maybe the wide diamonds at top was really able to get the ball to sit deep into this pocket. Still was able to get some good depth and good hold with the Crux Mesh as well. The ProForm, I experienced the least amount of hold. That's not to say that it didn't have hold, because it definitely does. It's a bit stiffer when you string it up and it requires more break-in. So I'm inclined to say that once broken in, it'll have a bit more hold. Right now it's not very broken in. So next up we're looking at control. The Crux Mesh I thought had really good control. Because it has these 2 runners on the side, it kind of keeps the ball in place and deters side-to-side ball rattle. That's just when the ball moves back and forth within the pocket. Because it has these runners, the ball doesn't really move much horizontally. So the ProForm actually did a great job for deterring side-to-side ball movement. Because it has leathers on the outside, the ball really doesn't want to move side-to-side at all. However, with this pocket, I had more issue with the ball moving up and down. Occasionally, the ball will sit on the ball stop. It's not really supposed to sit there, but during gameplay, it's bound to happen once in a while. However, I found it happening more often when I was playing with this stick than the other 2. And lastly, Crux Pro Mesh. I think that this one was the best for deterring up and down ball movement, and by that I mean the ball just sat like a rock basically in the high pocket region. However, this was probably the worst for side-to-side ball movement. The ball kind of just goes back and forth against the plastic. It's something that I got used to. I didn't find it to be a big issue. But for players who are still learning how to cradle, you probably want to have something with a bit more control on the side, so something with runners that will really keep the ball in place. As for catching, I think that the Crux Mesh did the best job here as well. It did the best job with impact absorption. It does the most work for you, meaning that you don't have to rely on your body movements to absorb the catching motion of the ball, and you can start thinking already what your next move is going to be. So this was probably the easiest to catch with. So the Crux Pro Mesh did a good job of absorbing momentum as well. I thought that it just was a little bit less easy to catch with than this one. This one does a lot of the work for you when it comes to catching. However, the Crux Pro Mesh is still pretty dang easy to catch with, and I just love how it throws too, but we're getting to that. Now for the ProForm Pocket, I think that this one was probably the least easy to catch with. I'm thinking that's because the mesh does a good job of wrapping around the ball, kind of absorbing impact a little bit better. Leather is not great for absorbing impact. It's relatively stiff, which means that you'll get for a lot of players, they like to have a smoother release, and that's kind of what you get with the leather. But on catching, it doesn't really give very much. So you're going to be doing the most work to absorb the momentum of your catch before you move into moving that ball. Now moving on to shooting. For Crux Mesh, if it is strung correctly, this can really shoot quite well. I had a lot of fun shooting with it. Not too whippy, but you're capable of getting a good amount of whip with this pocket. I really liked how light it was. It came in at 5.75 ounces about. That's really lightweight. And when I say that, I'm counting the entire head with the pocket in it. So the ProForm was probably my least favorite for shooting. It's not a bad shooting pocket. You can totally get crisp, clean, hard, accurate shots off with it. However, I had to put a little bit more thought into what I was doing. It comes down to how much the ball moves around in the pocket. Again, I found the ball resting on the ball stop a bit more with this pocket. When you're going to shoot, you don't want the ball to be sitting here. You want the ball to be sitting all the way up here. That's how you're going to maximize control and know exactly when to snap your wrist and release it. When it starts out down here, when you're beginning your shot, then it has all this momentum to ramp up, and then you snap your wrist, and then it's probably going to go straight down or straight up, but likely not where you're directing it to go. Like I said, it just takes a little bit more thought into shooting. You have to know where the ball is in your stick a bit more. And now Crux Pro Mesh. This was by far my favorite pocket to shoot with out of the three, and by far one of my favorite pockets to shoot with, period. This is too much fun. It comes in at 5.75 ounces, pretty much tied with the Crux Mesh, but the Crux Pro, I think because of these larger diamonds up top, the ball just sits like a rock and you can really just whip it forward and release it. I was having so much fun stinging corners. I can't wait to see players like Michelle Tumalo use this mesh. I feel bad for goalies. So I mentioned that these two are 5.75 ounces, including the head. This one came in at 6.5 ounces, a little bit heavier. And just to give you guys a reference point, a standard traditional pocket is going to be around 6 ounces. So now I'm going to discuss how these all take the draw. I honestly, a complete disclosure, I did not take the draw with this. So when I say the draw, I'm really just looking at how well the pocket takes an inverse pocket. I really liked how low your ball will sit with the mesh pockets. They're both have a really nice deep inverse pocket. As for the Pro Mesh, it's decent. It's not the best though. The mesh does a great job of wrapping around the ball when you add pressure to it, which allows the ball to get deeper in the pocket. The deeper it gets, the more that you can utilize the hard plastic to direct where it's going to go. I don't see that as much with the ladder pocket. Again, if this is more broken in, I'm inclined to say it would be deeper. However, right off the bat, it's not as deep as the other pockets. So looking at maintenance, the Crux Pro Mesh is going to require some stringing knowledge, but not a lot. You can mostly just adjust it using this bottom string for depth. You can adjust the shooters to get more or less whip if you want. How deep you get the pocket is also going to affect that, of course. It requires relatively low maintenance. I really haven't had to adjust this after stringing it. Next up we have the ProForm Pocket, which definitely requires the most maintenance because it is just a full trad. You're going to find this with any runner pockets that require a bunch of cross-lacing like this one does. It just requires a little bit more stringing knowledge. A lot of players don't have that stringing knowledge because they just want to play. I don't blame them. So you're going to have to know a little bit more about how to adjust this pocket. I actually go over that in a video, so you can check that out if you'd like to. But as far as maintenance is concerned, this is going to be your highest maintenance pocket. And then next up we have the lowest maintenance pocket, which is going to be the Crux Pro Mesh. I'm really excited about this because all you need to install it is sidewall string and shooters. So this is going to be great to teach girls how to string. I know that this can be a bit intimidating to start with as a stringer. I know it was when I first started stringing. So I really am hoping this is going to open the doors to a lot of female stringers to get them interested in how to create the pocket that works best for them. Now looking at stringability, I think that the Crux Mesh is pretty stringable. An intermediate level stringer should be able to get a decent pocket. This should be pretty easy to get a good pocket if you're an advanced stringer. Overall, it's a pretty easy pocket to install. So for the ProForm, this is definitely more of an advanced pocket. The ProForm comes with these ladders already tied and glued into place. That takes a lot of work out of it already. However, you do need to know how to cross-lace and how to get depth in a women's stick, which is usually what people struggle with the most. So this is going to be the most difficult pocket to string well. And then Crux Pro Mesh, I already kind of went over this, but this is pretty dang easy to string. You might have some issues coming up with a pattern that you like. It did take me a couple tries to get this one. I actually ended up doing a little bit of inside stringing, as you can see there. You can get a good pocket with less complicated techniques. So for the Crux Pro Mesh, this is definitely going to be the easiest to string, like I said. It only requires sidewall. I was able to get this pocket with a couple of tries. It did take a while to figure out. I think where you're going to really see this pocket being used is in skinnier heads. So you can get such a beautiful channel in the skinnier set head, and that also helps a little bit with the ball rattle because the pocket can get deeper. I love the pocket I was able to get in my Exalt 500 with this mesh. If you have an Exalt 500, try out this mesh. So overall, all three of these pockets are great offerings from STX. If I used a ladder pocket, a ladder style pocket I should say, I would use the ProForm. I did experience the softest catch that I have with any ladder pockets when I use this one. I like that it has Oling leather, no plastic pieces attached. That helped make the catch a bit softer, which I was not anticipating because the pocket piece itself felt initially pretty stiff. Once I hit the wall a little bit, it actually softened up. So Crux Mesh, you kind of get the best of both worlds. You get the accuracy that you would with a trad because it has these runners, but you still get the soft catch of mesh. It's a great introduction to mesh. If you're a bit wary about going to a full mesh pocket, this will be a good intermediate step. And Crux Pro Mesh is probably my favorite right now. This is the one that I would use if I were to play a game. I really like how much yank you can get in your shots. The ball really sits like a rock in the high pocket until you release it. I really encourage you to try out this mesh, especially if you have a skinny set head like the Exalt. Thanks so much for watching. Let me know which of these you would use in the comments, and make sure that you like and subscribe.